everybody, welcome back to Cities Skylines 2 with Deadman Streamin'. I hope you're all having a wonderful Sunday morning. I haven't been up for very long, but this is bugging me. And I have a meeting in like 2 hours, so I wanted just to go ahead and jump on this really quick and do some more of the scut work that we've been doing. Um, we're less building right now and more plopping some of the larger city buildings that we're going to need to support what's basically going to be an actual, large city. When we started, our focus was just a handful of squares that were up here, and while we've left a good bit of this undeveloped for right now, it's not going to stay that way. Um, but I really do want to get our lower shore area started, and some of that involves prepping things like laying out a rail station down here near where additional, um, wow, additional travel facilities are going to be. And then we also put in a city hall up here, we put in a citizen service center, and we went ahead and installed our new hospital. One thing that the game is getting kind of irked about is our trash facility. Excuse me. And definitely, excuse me, wow, morning indigestion. Um, our recycling center is really overloaded. We can build extensions for it, and we're going to, but we're also going to go ahead and build an additional recycling center down here somewhere in a more industrialized district, somewhere where it's going to fit in. And honestly, that's going to be right about in here. We will end up buying a couple of additional tiles, but for what I have planned, um, in here-ish is going to be pretty good for us, pretty solid location. But we can't build it till we build it. So let's get started and get ready to go ahead and build it. I'm almost reconsidering this highway junction. I know I said that we were going to use this, and I'm going to try to, but I'm thinking that our future is going to involve having a bridge popping across all the way from there, and that's just not going to make any sense, where a single point intersection is going to do better, giving us bridge access. The downside is just taking a couple of minutes to redo it, but we'll jump on that particular train when we get closer to it. Okay, so let's just start with getting our trash facilities done while we're on pause to sort of give the game something to do. All right, and for this, we've already got this automotive plant here. We've got this geothermal power plant. We're in the woods a little bit. This isn't going to be the worst place to put a recycling facility. Something that's, not going to stick out too far. Now, of course, we do have a couple of different options. We have the Japanese style recycling center, which is quite small with a small footprint, but it doesn't have any extensions that I can remember. The other one is our same type of recycling center that we have up north, and I'm just going to go with this. The processing capacity is 1,500 tons a month and storage of 1,500 a month. Uh, Same thing with this one. Garbage trucks on 15 on the Japanese version. Same thing with this. But again, because this can be upgraded, this is going to be a better investment for us over a long period of time. We'll automatically upgrade it. Well, not automatically. We'll queue the upgrade for a garbage truck depot. And I'll go ahead and install a couple of hazardous waste collection points just to increase the processing speed on this thing by, 250 extra tons a month. We're going to ultimately need that. By the same token, I'm going to slip in a storage facility back over here. Now, this building really would have also looked really good down in here when we install some additional industrial waterfront, but for what we're doing right here, it's going to be completely fine. And having that press right up against the automotive plant does bring, more of an industrial feel to this particular area. However, let us go ahead and set our operating districts. Let me check this plant real quick, make sure what it's operating in. It is covering everything. So let's focus it on Kingsfield and Bedford Acres. Then we're going to come down to this plant, selecting operating districts. We're going to target it for Bedford Acres, and then Strawberry Dreams. Then, we're not done yet. I'm actually going to go ahead and take our district creation tool. We're going to pull this down because you notice these buildings that are complaining about garbage, they're not in a district. That may be part of the reason why they're, well, no. If I don't do this, this would be part of the reason why they'd be complaining a little bit. Okay, just stretch that all the way out to the shoreline. And then I'll bring the district bar for Bedford down over here. The districts are a little bit of a headache to manage when you've got weirdly purchased building setups, or not building, zoning tiles. All right, and I'm just going to go ahead and mesh these up together as best as I can. We don't want to have any accidental spots that there's no coverage. That's a good way to end up with complaining citizens. Rightfully complaining, but complaining citizens. So let's take care of that. All right, we will come back and finish up that hole later. Let's go ahead and put some speed back on this thing while I bring up Twitch on my phone so I can see if anybody talks to me. And in case you happen to be tuned in, I have no idea really what's going on. My name is Josh, and what this video series is and is about is showing you how to create your own city in Cities Skylines 2, bring it up to profit, and then give you some ideas of where do we go from here now that the city is all grown up. Now, our city is already pretty heavy in profit. We're doing pretty good with that. So that's not a thing that I'm worried about right now. We're going to do our best to really push it up into profit level here as we go about. I'm going to save my game now that we got a good start. Yesterday we had some crashing issues and it sort of took the steam out of what we were doing. So, and that brings me to this. So at the end of yesterday's stream, we were setting up a rail line. And in the middle of that, the game was like, hey, no, you're not. And I was like, but I want to. And the game was like, too bad, dude. And it crashed out twice in a row, doing the same thing. And it crashed because we were having some weird node issues with some of these roads over here. Specifically, and of course it's going to make a liar out of me, specifically trying to get a roadway connected there. You notice there is nothing overlapping there, but the danger overlap is located, 3 blocks south at that little red line on this 6-lane road, and there's no reason for that. Deleting it, trying to redo the node, all of this would be a colossal headache, and honestly, we'd run the risk of crashing again at the way things were going yesterday, so I'm not touching it. I'm not dealing with it. The downside is we lose a pedestrian access road. Aside from that, I don't care. But after I fixed that, we went ahead and we have this train station. I had added some extra lines. One line that goes all the way to the east past the highway network. A second line coming in south of that station that's also going to the east and eventually meshes up over here. So when we go across the river on this side, it'll be good. And finally, a couple of southbound lanes, one coming in from the west to the south, one coming in from the east to the south, and we're good. And all of that comes down and connects down here to this new historic central station, which we have directly across from the German department store, part of the Denmark DLC pack. And with this department store, we get another decrease in our import costs, an increase in our city attractiveness, and +5 to well-being citywide. What we didn't do, though, was finish this. We didn't drag any rail lines coming out of here, heading up into our rail line leading up to the north, and out, to the outside of the city. We also didn't try to do anything getting it looped up to connected to any of these. That, like it or not, is going to have to be our first job to do. There is a secondary job that we're going to have to do, and that's to bring Not only are we bringing one rail line up, we're going to be bringing a second rail line down, roughly about here, and we'll terminate it in this general area. And that rail line is going to be for an additional cargo depot, but it's not going to be a cargo train station like we have up here. It's going to be something a little bit different. Okay, so now you know what this generalized plan is, and it's time for us to get to work. And that meant it was time for me to take a drink. Caffeinated lemonade. Gotta love it. Okay, so this is a point where I would like be considering doing another major flyover or something, but really, I don't necessarily need to. I am going to need to make at least a partial flyover. That's going to go from here over. We may end up buying an extra tile just to support some of this extra room. Okay, we're going to go with this. I only want to snap to geometry. I only want to snap to 90-degree angle. I'm not trying to do small increments. I'm just going to be happy with a 10-degree up, because I want to make sure that I'm crossing all of those lines without problem. Then we're going to come over straight to the highway, fairly straight to the highway, and come down. Now, the question is, do we want to have this be an elevated line all the way down? I do, but in terms of realism, you're not going to have an elevated trainway on the outskirts of town going forever. It's not something that's going to happen, not even remotely in the real world. So let me go back and delete that, because we don't need that to be that elevated. However, we will give this a very far gradient, so we're going to have the overall slope on this segment be, yeah, down slope of 2.5%. I can live with that. All right, get back to our curve row tool. And I'm just going to try to line it up as much as I can with this highway. Let's drag down a little bit. Now, we've got an over that's going to swing up and connect all the way up to that direction. On this side, we can really come anywhere we want for this. What I do want, though, is sort of a double connection. And you're going to see what I mean by that. Okay, we're also going to have to probably remap that just a little bit. Yeah. As beautiful as that curve is, as perfect as that curve is, we're going to have to remap that a little bit. That's fine. One perk to working on train lines before you have, well, one perk to working on rail before you have a line established is that you can sort of play around with it, get it right. And since you have to be so careful with getting your curves right when it comes to rails, so the game doesn't throw a complete panic attack, it's a major save. Setting this up right now does nothing to confuse those lines. All right, we've got one coming in down, we've got another coming in, oops, up. Now, here's sort of what I mean. I actually want to go ahead and add that connection right there. I do want that, right? Let me double check. Yeah, no, I don't think I do want that. All right. Give me a second. I am double checking my preemptive math. We're going to have to sort of revisit this-ish after I get this built and get our other structures taken care of. Now, like we can do with highway systems or other roads, we just don't do it with other roads, we can use the parallel line tool with our rail tracks as well if we want to have two separate dedicated lines. Now, right here we have a question. Do I go under? Do I go over? I'm going to go under this. So we're going to pause since I do know this road is being used a very little bit. So we'll drag to here, then we'll go down -10. And then we're going to come back up. And that is a 6-lane road, so let's be very careful. Ew. That is a 6-lane road, and it doesn't want to cross right there because that is too much. All right, so instead of going under, we'll go over. Which means we'll have to back out a little bit. Replace our road. Go back on speed. This time I will keep my steps down, and if I recall correctly, it's 6.5 meters, or 7.25, one of the two. But we'll have to go to 8 on this one, just because we're coming at that at an angle. Okay. Of course, the question then becomes, can we cross that at an angle? At a better angle than that. So let's find out, because we still do want to keep this up next to the highway. One of these lanes will be going under the highway, one of them will not. Actually, no. Both of them will be going under the highway, so we need to pull back again a little bit, and this is just one of those positioning things that we do have to worry about on occasion. Let's see. This curves here going down, so let's go ahead and take advantage of that to the best that we can. Get back on ground level. And once again, we have eaten desktop. I don't know why. I don't know why. And this is starting to get old in a hurry. So, please excuse me, everybody. We'll be back. What makes this kind of funny is that with the patch they released last week, it was supposed to decrease the amount of crash to desktop bugs you have, and with me, it seems to have increased them exponentially. I don't know if it's a Windows thing. I don't know if it's a Cities Skylines thing. I don't know what it is. I know that it's getting old in a hurry. I will say, if it keeps doing this, we'll be switching from doing streams on City Skylines 2 and going over to straight YouTube videos. Oh, how much of that did I lose? Are you kidding me? Well, we got a recycling plant down, but none of the rail. Are you kidding me? Okay, okay, okay. We'll go back to it. And I guess this time we'll just come out from this angle. So ultimately, what I want to do is to install a cargo harbor over here where we have our industrial district. And let's go ahead and buy up a couple of tiles. Try. We'll go with this in a different approach. So I'm going to snap up this, this, and this. And I'm going to come over here. So cargo harbors work a lot like regular harbors, although I suppose you haven't seen those yet either. You plop one down, and these do connect to rail stations, but I do not like where that rail is going to be connecting to. Oh, that's going to be very difficult for us. Because if I'm seeing this correctly, that rail is only going to come in from the west. Or no, so coming in from the east, which is going to screw us up something mightily. I do want it to be somewhere close to this general area so that we can take advantage of having these industrial plants up here and a lot of the office stuff so we could be able to export office buildings too. But this is going to be part of our major shoreline. Now, the downside is this is a polluter. This is a noise pollution machine. And we're not going to want it to be anywhere close to our residential. So basically, when I put this down, it's going to define where our residential areas in Strawberry Dreams begin and end. Also, let's see. Oh, hey, at least it kept our district changes. And another thing we're going to want to do is to even up this coastline a little bit. We'll jump on this since it's crashing on rail. We'll do on this. Okay, so I'm going to go with level terrain. I'm going to go with one of these deeper parts, and then we're just going to do our best to make this as even as we can right through here. Playing around with water in this game can be really difficult to get everything exactly the way you want it. We don't currently have quays or a lot of shore functionality that we did in Cities Skylines 1. Now, there is a Bridges and Piers expansion pack that's supposed to come out sometime in first quarter that should be addressing that and giving us a lot more riverfront options. But as it stands right now on the 26th of January, we don't have access to it. So first, let me take a look and double check to see where that rail line comes in at. We may end up putting it over here. And if we do, then this is really going to change our approach in a lot of different ways. So let's take a look. And when you're placing ports and harbors, you have to be very careful because it's going to be very picky about what it considers viable. What it considers to be on land, what it considers to be on roads. And this is going to be one of those cases. We are more than likely going to have to move this around some. So I'm going to start by setting it here. This is our first port of the game, so this is a good thing. We do have some additional options to it. Cargo cranes to increase the speed in which ships can be loaded and unloaded. Our rail connection, and then, as you can see, the rail connection only comes in from this side. So this is going to largely upset the way I was planning on doing things. Cargo stations don't need to be on the same line as your passenger trains. In fact, it can actually clog up your rail lines and cause disconnects and crashes and other things. Not train crashes, but game crashes. First thing I did, though, I did knock this out of service so that it's not going to charge us an overly large fee. And then finally, we can add warehouses to it, and these warehouses can go off the edge of the shoreline a little bit, which is realistic. It does make a little bit of sense. So I guess my question is, I can either leave it on this side, or I can swing it over to here, and then we'll have to have our rail, our main rail line coming down and likely be more on the west side of these tracks. Yeah, the west side of these tracks instead of the east side, which is fine, and we can still split that off and run that down. That's not going to be the biggest issue known to mankind. It is going to force us to install a couple of bridges and stretch out a little bit, which was something that I didn't really want to do over here. On the other hand, this will give us sort of an industrial island, for lack of a better word. Uh, well, industrial peninsula, an industrial peninsula. I think that may work a little bit better, and that may just work out a little bit better. Now, it's also going to create a little bit of a headache because if we do run a bridge, that means we won't be able to run a sea lane all the way over here. They really screwed up bridges and sea lines in this game to the extent that if you want to have a bridge cross a sea line, and sea lines are what we'll be using, much like we use rail lines or bus lines or whatever, it's these blue dots here. Your bridge height needs to be something like 50 or 60 meters up, which is ridiculous. I don't have a nice way to put that. It's bizarro land, and it makes it kind of frustrating to do our setups. On the other hand, this will keep it further away from additional residential, so that'll cut down on some of our noise headaches. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and buy us a few extra tiles. I'm going to snap up those three, that one, and that one, which is going to set us back almost a million, but that's fine. We'll live. Then I'm going to come over here with our level terrain tool again. I'm going to say right here is going to be roughly where I'm going to want to put this thing. One semi-easy way to go about this to make sure you get everything where you want it is to just take a road, lay it down as a guideline, make it as straight as you think you're going to need it, and then take your level terrain tool, select a low point, and then you can just push it up against the road. And let that tell you where you want. Is it perfect? No. Is it going to look great when I delete this? Probably not necessarily, but it's going to be better than what we had. Now let's delete that road. Zippity-doo-dah zoom. Let's grab this thing and move it. Oh, but I made a mistake. Like I said, if we want this to bridge and we want to bridge off of that, it's going to have to come a little lower than that. So I goofed. In fact, I goofed so bad, let me reload our save. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm playing a simulation. I'm simulating my simulation. And, backing up and reloading. You're not cheesing out the game any. You are, you're running a planning committee in real time. Okay. Get it back to speed so we can earn money as I'm spending money. So if right there is not good for us, right here should be. Because if I was going to run a bridge at a 90-degree angle, so we've just now created a guideline bridge here. Okay, we'll have to buy even more tiles. Yay. Okay. Bought our guideline bridge for this. And we're buying on an actual tornado. Folks, I hope you're having a good Sunday. Spending $1 million on purchase power right there. Did we just have to see a plane fly into that tornado? Go, Storm Chaser, go. Okay, I'm not putting the building down right now. I'm not. I'm not even going to go over there to decorate. We're going to try our thing with the rail again. So this time, though, we do know that we're going to be crossing over the water with this lane a bit. So I want one dedicated line that's going to run from this up to here to connect in an A, one going that way, one going this way. I want a second dedicated line that will be coming down here, and finally another dedicated line coming from this direction. So basically, we're talking about having two different A junctions up here for our rail. And I'm going to want to try to be a little careful here. Okay, so that's junction 1. And this is where we should put in a flyover to connect on this side, actually. So instead of connecting there, I want to connect there. And we need to get under this highway for the second line as well. Now I'm going to start our highway bridge roughly about here. Has that tornado gone away yet? Okay, it has. So this is the point where we're going to be splitting our lines off. So make sure you deselect your dual line tool. Okay, saving for reasons. Okay, now we'll get back to placing that port later. I hadn't planned on doing it today, anyways, so I mean, it's just as well we sort of crashed out. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here and we're going to work on this side for a few minutes. We're going to want our straight tool, going up to 10 at 170 meters. Always got to be one. All right, so 171 on that one. Okay, take a quick look. Is that even? Yeah, that looks as honestly, it looks very even to me. Okay, so we now have that. We know where that's going to go. I'm still thinking this is going to have to be replaced with an SPI. And then the next step, pick one of these. And I don't really like where that's curving, so let's delete. But what catching up there doesn't do is it doesn't slip us into this lane going up. So let me go ahead and try our best to fix that. This is where we'll put our next but final flyover. And we're actually going to go flying all the way over this highway. So we're actually increasing this up to 20 meters right here. Then dropping to 10. And that'll give us an exit out as well as closing our internal loop. And last but not least, let's take a look over here at these other lines. Swing that in and connect it. Now, a really good question is, do I want to swing this over as well and have it connect with our passenger line to our cargo line over here? The answer is yes and no. We're not going to, it is going to right now connect onto our cargo line, but we're not going to use it that way in the future. We'll be coming back over and restarting the parallel line mode. But in terms of these, that doesn't mean a whole lot of anything right today. Okay, all it means is that we just lose quite a lot of real estate right here. I hate to sacrifice that much, but it is what it is. Rail is not small. That's just the truth of it. Okay, let's run a passenger line. New line here. This line is going to be leaving town. And we're going to see how that goes. So it does come up. It does follow this and that flyover like it's supposed to, like we wanted it to. And then it can come back right there to complete our route. Then a new route here. Just pick the next one down. This one we're going to follow up, and we're going to see if it will connect the way I want it to. No, it's not. It's actually going to go the other way around. Now, we've got a couple of ways to do that. We can force it by adding a waypoint at a location of our choosing, which is going to tell the game, hey, I want to go this direction. And then from there, it'll calculate the next closest to get to your next waypoint, which in this case would be that station. And then we'll go for that platform, come back down, and complete our route here just to make sure that it followed our rail the way we wanted it to. And look at that. Yes, it did. We are golden. Okay. One more thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and repeat that route the other direction. So we have a northbound and a southbound loop. And we're going to sort of do the same thing. We're going to tell it, hey, I want a waypoint. Oh, wait, wrong spot. And scroll down, make sure you're putting your waypoint on the correct side of the track. All right, swing down, and then back to our endpoint, complete routes. Next thing we're going to do is save game. Resume game, and we are good. We've got a new train route running through this train station. Now here's one that's worth noting on this. This is saying that there's not enough customers coming to the store, and there's likely not. Why? Because we don't have anybody who needs to come down here. Yeah, there's almost 1,000 people working in this department store, but there's no shopping. There's nobody, there's no residents coming down here. If I live up in Bedford Acres, I am not driving or taking a train or anything all the way south to go to a random department store unless I have no other choice. So this is something where when you're placing commercial buildings, you do have to keep in mind where's a good spot, and good spot for commercial is always near-ish residential. Okay, so we resolved our train question. Now back to the port question. I'm going to save again, even though I think I just did. But those crashes lately have been scaring me. Okay, and I'm going to have to hop off here in just a couple of minutes, guys. Got to start preparing for a meeting like I mentioned, so let me rush-ish through this. I'm going to set up the port so you guys can see it. Just getting our prep work done so we can finally move on. There's one more piece of infrastructure that we'll be building before we set up our passenger harbor. But, yeah. Hey, Blay. I crashed twice last night, and I crashed once this morning, so it sort of put a damper on things. And I weirdly have a Sunday morning meeting today for some of the stuff that I do. So I just wanted to hop on and play this for an hour, and we're almost at our hour. So thank you for joining in. I'm sorry we're coming in late, but right now we've been setting up rail, and I am setting in a cargo harbor really quick. We're not going to get a chance to really decorate this too much, but I do want to get it set up and show everyone how this works to connect to the outside realm. Okay. So you're limited on how far this can go out in the water before you start getting error messages. You do actually have to bring it back a good bit on shore, or else it won't let you place it, which is weird because it's a port. It's supposed to be on water. But I suppose concrete piers only go so far. Okay. We'll upgrade this. We'll add an extra set of cranes. We'll add our rail connection. And I'm going to add a warehouse on both sides of the building as absolute best as I can, with the intention of adding an additional warehouse on this other side. But these warehouses on both sides look really good. Except that's too far in the water. Again, it's a port. I don't know where they think I'm supposed to put it. And every now and again, you do actually have to wait for the water physics to settle. So, guess we won't be putting that right there right now. Sometimes if you take the Soften Terrain tool and move it down, sometimes that'll slightly adjust the game thinking that there is still water here and there. Yep, just like that. Okay. So first, let's get a road running to it. And even weirdly right here, it's telling you that the road is in water. No, the road is on a bridge. It's just where the nodes in this game sort of get concerned and confused, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. Okay, now in this case, we are going to sink the rail under this road, which means we do have to delete the roadway. Come over. And now we have our both our rail and road connection. There is, of course, one more connection we're missing. Two more connections, actually. If you notice right here, we're actually connected to a highway road. And if you remember from early on in the game, power lines, water lines, and the like don't connect to highway roads. You can force power lines to connect by installing lights along the roads. There's a option of lights along the highways. There's an option for that down here. It'll actually decrease the chances of crashes at certain times of night. It's easy enough to set up. We're not even going to bother though. What I am going to do is get a transformer station. We're going to turn our snapping tools back on. I'm going to slip this transformer right over here, right next to the port, so it looks like it's attached, just like that. Then we're going to take a power line, run it just behind. We're going to try to go, well, no, we're not. We're going to have to go underground for this, because if we don't go underground, it's not going to cross our shipping lane, which is going to be really frustrating in the long term. So I'm just going to keep it going underground. Our power station is not very far away. I'm going to come over here and we're going to go ahead and add an additional high voltage substation to this. We're going to slip it over here behind that extra storage facility we put in for that. Again, mostly just for looks, nothing too particular. We're still underground with our main power line, and they're done. Now we should have power coming from the plant, down the line, out over here, out over there, connected. Next thing to set up would be water and sewer. And this, look, we're not even going to play. We're just going to grab it. We're going to drag it. We're going to have to delete part of that and refix it. And then I'm just going to scoot it over here. It's not low enough to get underneath that power line. We fixed that. Okay, and done. But if you notice, it said it didn't connect over here for some weird reason. I guess we were off by a square. Oh, come on. Okay. Water, power, sewage, rail, roads, all connected to this building. We are good so far. Let's set up a cargo line, cargo railway tool. Now, all I want to connect this to is this rail station up here. And you can see that it's going to follow our new track. Come back down. And done. Now our industrial area in the north is going to be able to directly connect to our harbor and then ship stuff out that direction. Let's finish up. The last thing that we have to do is install a seaway. I'm going to go with a medium to fit through the river. And we're going to use our continuous rail tool. And boom. Now, last but not least, our cargo ship tool. And we're going to run route from there to back. And then I'm going to take a second route from there to there and back. Now our city is going to be able to import goods by seaway and export them the same direction. This is going to both provide additional raw materials for our factory. This will allow our factories to export and earn a greater profit, and it'll also help our commercial buildings the same way. Now, the one downside is that cargo ships take forever. This is not a slow transfer, or this is not a fast transfer. They will start generating right away, but they're slow. You can see how slow these move. They're slower than trucks. They're slower than trains. On the other hand, they can bring in a lot more. Each of these cargo ships can bring in about 1,000 tons, and this thing's bringing in 150 tons of metals, which is something we don't have a lot of production of. How will this affect our income? Well, this building does have a cost to it, but that should be offset by the profit made from sales of imported and exported goods. It's one of those things where you set it up and you generate profit over time, not necessarily something you generate profit immediately from. So just keep that in mind as you're developing up. When we return, we'll add some industrial buildings around here. We'll start plopping down the last few service buildings we need over here for Strawberry Dreams, including schools is going to be our next big thing to work on our education crisis that is eternal in City Skylines. We may come over here and replace this with an SPI, but for right now, I'd say we're good. One last thing I want to look is our railway yard usage, and it looks like we've still got enough trains to go around. And speaking of which, there's one right there. So I know this has been sort of a long-ish hour with more railway and stuff, but I can tell you we're effectively done with rail for quite a while until we expand out this direction. Far as we're concerned, railway system is really installed. We've got 3 stations, 2 good loops, and our cargo. And I think that's pretty awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Josh. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dead Men Streaming. Thank you for following me on Twitch. Thank you for following me on YouTube if you do. If you see this on YouTube and not on Twitch, be sure to pop over to my Twitch stream and give me a follow. My goal is not only to help people with City Skylines and Fallout 76, but my goal is to also show everybody or no, sorry. My goal is also to become an affiliate on Twitch so I can use this platform to raise funds for the charity that I run in Parkersburg, West Virginia, that supports food pantries around the area. It's just a thing that I do, and you do have to have at least 50 followers on Twitch before they'll let you do charity streams. It's weird, I know. I don't make the rules, I just play by them. All right, thanks again, one and all, and I'll see you soon.